Ever wake up at 6:30 in the morning, walk outside with your coffee, and find 47 neon violation stickers plastered all over your Navy patrol boat, government property, like some deranged art project? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. My hands shook, not from PTSD, but from pure volcanic rage as I tried scraping industrial adhesive off the American flag on my own deck. The air reeked of cheap perfume, which, looking back, should have been my first clue. Someone had been there recently, marking territory. And then, like some twisted comic book villain, she appeared. 63 years old, industrial sticker gun in one hand, the smuggest little smile in history on her lips. "Your military toy ruins our property values, sailor boy," she said, waving the gun. "Time for you people to find somewhere else to play soldier. You people, like my wife, Sarah, ICU nurse, our 12-year-old twins, Marcus and Tyler, and me, a Navy bomb disposal guy who survived 3 Taliban IEDs, or some kind of disease. We bought this lake house as our little safe zone, you know? Just water, wind, family. Peace. And suddenly, I was the enemy. Maybe you know the type. Maybe you've even run into them yourself. Maybe you're nodding right now. Or maybe you think I'm exaggerating. Trust me, I wish I was. Let me back up. My name's Danny. 23 years, Navy EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. That means, basically, I get paid to stare down bombs and disarm them, so other people can come home. That does things to your head. 3 IEDs in Afghanistan left me with more than a few scars, but the lake house, with its rough dock and that sound of water hitting the hull, was supposed to be my recovery zone. I bought it with a VA loan, brought Sarah and the boys here for some kind of normalcy. Except, of course, for the boat. Not just a boat, my official regulation gray, government issue, Boston Whaler Patrol vessel. Shore patrol duty on the weekends. Structure. Purpose. All the gear on board, military property. The boys thought it was the coolest thing ever. Me? It kept my brain in the present, gave me a mission. And then Karen, yeah, that's what everyone calls her, but her real name's Beatrice Ashworth Klein, decided my life was some kind of blight on her $1,000,000 view. Picture this. Karen inherited a mansion, runs the HOA Compliance Committee like it's her personal kingdom. Vanity plates that read compliance on her $80,000 Mercedes. If you think I'm joking, I wish I was. She's got this vision, lakeside luxury development, high-end buyers, no military riffraff ruining the vibe. That's what she calls it, an unsavory maritime atmosphere. Translation, my boat makes the neighborhood look too blue-collar. That Tuesday morning, she'd clearly been planning. She watched my schedule, knew I left at 6 sharp for shore patrol. At 5:30, she crept out in a full hazmat suit. No kidding, a hazmat suit, because apparently she thought the boat was going to explode. Used industrial stickers, the kind that need a heat gun to get off. Hull, windshield, antennas flag. 47 of them. Each one screaming about violations of rules that didn't even exist. And just as I'm standing there, jaw clenched, she hands me a laminated fine schedule. For $1,750 for unauthorized military vessel mooring. Like she's queen of the lake. You ever stand there, knuckles white, and wonder how a person like that exists? I did. This community has standards, she said, straightening her designer jacket while I picked glue off my government equipment. Your military activities are incompatible with our residential atmosphere. The smell of coffee, sticker glue, and rage burned in my nose. It was like the opening shot of a war, and I'll admit, my first instinct was to report up the chain. But I figured I'd try the neighborly way first. Rookie mistake. She saw my restraint as weakness, my professionalism as fear. Thing is, she had no idea she was messing with a guy who's had to cut the right wire on a bomb with seconds left on the timer. And she really didn't understand that vandalizing federal property is a federal crime. What she also didn't know was that, well, I know people. Shore patrol people. People who don't take kindly to civilians pulling this kind of thing. But, of course, Karen wasn't satisfied with her opening salvo. 3 days later, she goes nuclear, files a formal complaint with the Coast Guard, says my boat's an unregistered Homeland Security risk. That's like calling the fire department, because your neighbor's sprinklers are too wet. Monday morning, Lieutenant Rodriguez from the Coast Guard shows up, clipboard and all, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I'm waiting for him on the dock. Sun on the water, dock creaking, air crisp. "Sir, we received a complaint about this vessel," he says, obviously embarrassed. I hand over every document. Military registration, orders, ID, insurance, the works. Rodriguez flips through it, slow, knowing he's wasting his morning on paperwork he didn't ask for. "This is clearly a properly documented military vessel," he says. "I don't understand the nature of the complaint." Enter Karen, right on cue. I swear she's got cameras pointed at my dock 24/7. She storms down, clutching $400 binoculars. "Officer, this man has been intimidating federal inspectors," she announces, like she's unveiling a secret plot. "I demand you investigate his suspicious explosive materials." Rodriguez and I look at each other. You ever share a look with someone where you both know it's about to get stupid? That was this moment. I offer him a full tour. Safety equipment, life jackets, radios, everything up to code. Karen's seething. He's hiding something, she insists. Why else would he have military equipment in a civilian area? Rodriguez has had enough. "Ma'am, this is an official Navy vessel. The operator is qualified, conducting authorized duties. No violation here." But she's already on her phone, speaking loud for everyone to hear. "Yes, I need to report military intimidation. The subject has access to explosives." That's when I learned something new about federal law. Even obviously fake national security complaints have to be investigated. And that means my commanding officer gets a call from investigators. That's not a fun call, trust me. Here's the fun fact I learned while reading legal docs at 2 a.m. Under maritime law, the HOA's authority stops at the high tide line. Anything on that dock that's Navy issued, that's out of Karen's jurisdiction. She didn't care. She kept filing the same complaint about me and, it turns out, about 5 other military families nearby. Same accusations. Same ridiculous homeland security risk. Rodriguez called me later that week, gave me a heads up. "We're seeing a campaign here," he said. That's when I realized this wasn't just HOA harassment. This was systematic. I started keeping logs, every incident, every conversation. Military precision. After-action reports. Dates, times, witnesses. The whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, Karen's intelligence operation was in full swing. She kept binoculars on my dock all day, smoking cigarettes, building her little evidence file of military activity. My neighbors started calling her morning stakeouts the Karen clock. You knew it was 8 a.m. by the smell of her smoke. But Karen made one big mistake. She thought because I didn't get loud, I was backing down. Really, I was just doing what any bomb tech does when he finds a suspicious package. Assess, document, and prepare for controlled detonation. 2 weeks later, she kicks it up a notch. She forms the Civilian Harbor Safety Committee, gets 3 elderly neighbors to sign a petition demanding a military-free waterfront, claims Navy boats cause noise pollution and attract the wrong kind of people. The petition, though, too polished, too legal for a neighborhood note. So I start knocking on doors. Mrs. Henderson, 82 and sharp as a tack, says, "Petition? I never signed that. My late husband was Navy." Mr. Garcia, 2 doors down, "Nope. My son's deployed right now." I compared signatures. Same handwriting as Karen's sticker campaign. Forged. I took photos, got written statement from the actual neighbors, and compiled a fat dossier for the HOA board. Karen's response? Calls the cops, says I threatened her with military violence. Officer Martinez, who knows me from veterans events, listens to her dramatic story, then asks to see the threat. All I'd said was, "Ma'am, you forged these signatures, and I have proof." Martinez tells her, "That sounds like a factual statement, not a threat." Turns to me and says, "Document everything. Stay professional." Karen was just getting started. Thursday, Sarah comes home from a night shift, eyes wide, hands shaking. Someone left a note on her windshield. "Military wife trash. Find a husband who doesn't kill people for a living." That same scrawled handwriting, over and over. Marcus and Tyler wanted to know why the mean lady hated daddy for protecting people. That hit different. That's when it stopped being just Karen. This was war. More legal research. Federal False Statements Act. Line of federal agencies. 5 years in prison per incident. And every report she'd filed was documented. Next, I installed motion-activated cameras around the dock. Those cameras picked up some wild stuff. Karen sneaking around at 3 a.m., taking photos, sometimes even snapping the boys on the dock or Sarah reading. She'd even gotten a copy of my patrol schedule from somewhere. Someone inside was feeding her classified info, which meant I wasn't just fighting Karen. I was fighting a network. Other military families started coming forward. Same harassment, same fake violations, same notes. The smell of paranoia started to outpace the lake breeze. Still, she craved confrontation. And when I kept responding by the book, it drove her nuts. By November, she went physical, blocked the boat launch with her Mercedes, stood in the water in heels and a white pantsuit, screaming about an emergency HOA meeting. I took a breath, kept it cool, and let my training kick in. Ma'am, you're interfering with federal operations. She didn't care. Petty Officer Bellamy from base security arrived, witnessed everything. Bellamy said quietly, "This is interference with military operations. Want me to call Shore Patrol?" Karen lost it, started filming, yelling for her lawyer, until Marina management threatened to tow her car. 2 days later, it escalated again. This time, superglued condemned notices on my boat. Fake federal seals, threats of immediate removal. The adhesive destroyed the finish. Over 20 grand in damages. Again, federal property crime. I documented everything. Turns out, vandalizing military equipment gets the FBI involved, no matter the cost. She'd even hired a PI, who called me after 3 weeks and said, "Chief Sullivan, your activities are legal." I advised my client to stop. She fired him, hired her nephew Trevor, a guy with a record longer than my service history, who spent his days sitting in a Civic taking blurry photos and chain smoking. The kicker? Karen's own security cameras caught her sneaking around the marina, camouflage outfit and all, slapping fake notices on my boat. Marina security gave me the footage. I started to realize I'd been playing defense when what I needed was a controlled detonation. So I set a trap, submitted a fake patrol schedule through official channels, said I'd be gone all night. Parked across from the marina. At 11:47 p.m., Karen's Mercedes pulled in. She and Trevor, with violation stickers, bolt cutters, crowbars, the works. My cameras and night vision caught everything. Next morning, I confronted the marina clerk, Maria. Within 5 minutes, she cracked. She'd been taking $500 a week from Karen to report my schedule. She had no idea that feeding out patrol times could mean 10 years in prison. But that wasn't even the big reveal. Turns out, Karen owned 40% of a development company planning a $50 million resort. Military families didn't fit the image, so she'd been running us off, one at a time. Fake complaints, endless harassment, systematic discrimination. A housing scheme, illegal as hell. She'd even bribed for my schedule. Federal felony. It clicked. She wasn't just a busybody. She was running a criminal enterprise, targeting a protected class for money. I coordinated with the other military families, shared evidence, connected the dots. We brought in the feds. Systematic discrimination, conspiracy, property crime, bribery. Game over. But I wasn't done. I rigged the boat with a military marking paint trap. Legal, non-toxic, but bright green and near impossible to wash off. Cameras everywhere. Shore Patrol on standby. November 23rd, new moon, zero light. Karen's favorite time for mischief. She arrived with Trevor, bolt cutters, cameras, and evidence bags for her press conference. Pressure plates, loaded with marking paint, triggered at 3:47 a.m. green explosion. Karen, Trevor, the dock, everything covered. Sirens. Shore Patrol boats pulled in, Captain Hayes in uniform. Federal agents stepped out, read Karen her rights for vandalism, bribery, conspiracy, hate crimes against military families. The look on her face, green paint dripping, still screaming about military booby traps. It was priceless. Her own documentary camera caught the whole thing. When the news broke, there she was, the self-declared HOA queen, handcuffed in neon green. 18 months in federal prison, $73,000 in restitution, and her company dissolved under the weight of fines and bad press. Trevor? Community service, cleaning veterans' memorials. Karen's Lake Mansion sold at auction. Her legend? The Grinch of the harbor. But the real win? The law changed. Federal protections for military families. New guidelines. Signs posted at marinas. The annual Harbor Festival now celebrates both civilian and military families. On November 23rd, the anniversary of Karen's arrest. Marcus and Tyler, now heroes at school, tell the story of the Green Lady. Sarah says she's never seen my PTSD fade so much as when the community finally rallied behind us. Funny how the worst people can bring out the best in a community. Funny how a little green paint can mark the end of a war. So, let me ask you, where's the line between neighborly concern and abuse of power? When does compliance turn into criminal harassment? Would you have set a trap? Or just moved away? Ever tangled with a Karen and won? I want to hear your story. Seriously, drop your thoughts below. Justice doesn't always come fast, but man, when it comes, it sure is satisfying.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.